Hi class, this is my personal response to the Block 1 activities. Um, what I'm going to cover is why I chose the novels that I chose, um, some quotes that connected me to the novels. I'm going to talk about the literacy value, teaching options, and a little bit about adolescent reactions. So I chose Monster by Walter Dean Myers. This book is very interesting because it's presented in the form of a movie script, which really gives you a good, um, the writing is so descriptive that you can kind of feel and sense what's going on around the main character, Steve Harmon. So I clicked here a section that I wanted to read, which is just an example. And it's kind of throughout the book. There's these kind of journal notes that he wrote, and I thought it was nicely integrated with the main storyline or script. So I'll read you some notes. This is Tuesday, July 7th. Notes. I can hardly think about the movie. I hate this place so much. But if I didn't think of the movie, I would go crazy. All they talk about in here is hurting people. If you look at somebody, they say, "What are you looking at me for? I'll mess you up." If you make a noise they don't like, they'll say they'll mess you up. One guy has a knife. It's not really a knife, but a blade glued onto a toothbrush handle. So this kind of gives you an impression of how he's explaining his situation and what's going on around him. And he does that a lot throughout the whole book. Again, very good read. I'll talk about the literacy value of that later. I also picked The Imitation Game, which is a true story about Alan Turing, who's he's a mathematician growing up in the time of World War II. So he's pretty much a young adult during World War II, and finds himself with a team of folks that are trying to decipher German transmissions to help the Allies use that intelligence for strategy and winning the war. Let's see. I'm going to read. Actually, the whole book was great, but I thought it was kind of neat how they in the end there was an author's note. So Alan Turing was he was a genius, and again he did his government, the world, a great service in building machines and figuring out how to decipher codes, and basically had a profound impact on the end result, the outcome of World War II. So he was a hero, but he was also a homosexual, and back in this time frame, that was illegal. So he was prosecuted later in his adult life for being a homosexual, to the point where he had to take estrogen injections. It really destroyed his life, and it's theorized that he actually committed suicide as a result. So I was going to read you this, just a little bit of the author's note. On September 10th, 2009, British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, acknowledging a petition started by John Graham Cumming, released a statement apologizing to Alan Turing on behalf of the British government. It closed with, "We're sorry. You deserve so much better." 4 years later, on December 24, 2013, Queen Elizabeth II granted Turing a pardon under the royal prerogative of mercy. It read, "Now know ye that we, in consideration of the circumstances humbly represented unto us, are graciously pleased to extend our grace and mercy unto the said Alan Matheson Turing, and to grant him a free pardon posthumously in respect of said convictions." Also, the author notes, "I imagine Turing would find the idea of being extended grace and mercy puzzling, and would reply, 'Thank you. Now what about everyone else who was convicted under this law?'" Which I think is very, very true of Turing's character. So talk about the value of that one in a little bit. Persepolis, I found this to be a very good read, even though it was assigned. I just thought I love books that are based on history, and I just want, one of the things that got me connected immediately was in the introduction. In 1951, Mohammad Mossadegh, then Prime Minister of Iran, nationalized the oil industry. Now, this upset the Western world because the Western world wanted to have more control over oil. In retaliation, Great Britain organized an embargo on all exports from oil from Iran. In 1953, the CIA, with help of British intelligence, organized a coup against him. Mossadegh was overthrown, and the Shah, who had earlier escaped from the country, returned to power. The Shah stayed on the throne until 1979, when he fled Iran to escape the Islamic Revolution. So here you got the Western world meddling in politics, and out of that came the Islamic Revolution. So in terms of the literacy and literary value for each genre, I wrote a few things here. Graphic novels can contribute to interdisciplinary thematic units or can serve as an introduction to a specific content area. For example, in social studies, they can help students develop an understanding of history and or an appreciation of different cultures. And I think this Persepolis book is an excellent example of that, especially the different perspectives. In the graphic novel, The Imitation Game, these are teaching ideas. You could use this book to explore topics in mathematics, like how digital logic works. In social studies, you could, using World War II history and how deciphering enemy communications would serve to improve Allied strategy for winning the war. Talk about that. Also, you could look at the social issue of criminalizing homosexual behavior and the profound impact this had on Alan Turing's life. I think you could take that in ELA or social studies and just create a discussion with students and get reactions on that, and that would be a really good topic to have a critical discussion on. In the novel Monster, you could introduce students to this